Michael, thanks for your time. So, before talking about the film, what did your playing career or pedigree extend to?
Well, it's interesting. I've been coaching recently. I've been coaching my son's under 12 football team, and I was sort of fast remembering. Okay, I have to explain to them what my pedigree was, and the best I could do was come up that our class 6 won the regional championship, which I must have been all of 12. But it was very relevant to them because that's how old they were. So I think my pedigree ended around class 6. But at least I can claim to have been part of winning the regional championship. But no, I was what do you call it? Very much a journeyman.
And your production company, Second Nature Films. Tell us a bit about that and how that came together.
Second Nature Films was created with my wife, Kate, who's the producer of this film, and myself back in 1997. And look, the intention is to make films about people that make a difference. It's something that we feel very strongly about, that we want to be able to inspire people with our documentaries, and that was the intention of Second Nature Films.
So the idea for this film, Aussie Rules Across the World, effectively, where did that come from, and how did that, especially the scope of the film, to go to so many places, how did that start?
I might be a documentary maker, but I'm also a footy tragic, and I am amazed at how few documentaries there are about AFL football, and so I've always been on the lookout for a good story about AFL. And this came about because when Brett Kirk of the Sydney Swans retired, he was offered this role of taking the game overseas. And as a fan of Brett Kirk's, having followed his career, and that he was someone that we felt had something to offer beyond football, the idea of travel, the idea of finding out about this game overseas, that was an opportunity that I thought was worth exploring. Huge leap of faith. Never met Brett, never really understood whether he'd be into it or not, but that's where the idea came from.
You mentioned that there hasn't been many documentaries. Australian football generally over its 150 years has not attracted a lot of attention, cultural attention beyond what I might describe as a game day, such as artworks, photography, documentaries, fiction films, especially when you compare it to Australian football with baseball, for example. Why do you think that is? Is it a Sydney-Melbourne divide thing because of the population, or what do you think has driven that lack of interest in a broader cultural aesthetic?
Yeah, look, I'm always surprised that there's not more in the artistic sphere around AFL football. I just think perhaps it's a lack of imagination or a lack of thinking and a lack of understanding that it would make an impact to people, that there is a market for it. I just think we just need to broaden our horizons a bit, because I think the opportunity is there and the audience is there.
So having travelled the world on this crusade, were you surprised, either underwhelmed or overwhelmed by the game's following and its playing ranks?
Oh no, I was definitely surprised by how passionate people are around the world for this game. Definitely surprised. I think it represents a new game to people. And look, what's going on in the world at the moment, with the troubled times, it's something new for people to attach themselves to. That's a good game. It's a good game to start with, but it also doesn't have any cultural or religious baggage. It's a fresh game and it's a good game, and people feel like they can just jump in and play it. I was really surprised by the passion out there.
I think I've always thought one of the things about the game is that it is a multicultural game, and it's different people have to play. You need your tall guys, you need your small guys, you need your quick guys, you need your backs, you need your quick, intelligent guys, you need guys who just go around and run in straight lines. And I thought the film brings out that kind of a more cultural sense, that the Palestinians and the Israelis could play together, the whites and the blacks in South Africa could play together, and then there was this melting pot that brings together, that is an Australian football team. Is that how you found the way they were approaching it?
I mean, look, I think we portray in the film just how multicultural Aussie Rules is played around the world. But let's bring it back to here. I mean, when we interviewed the former CEO Andrew Demetriou, he was very proud of the fact that in AFL the fans mix, that the fans mingle. He really wanted to make that point, and so when we went overseas, we would tell people that. And they would say, well, that's how we play it here. You know, we mingle, whether it be we go across racial divides, we go across religious divides, and look, when you compare it to other team sports, it is something quite unique about AFL, that the fans do mingle and the players mingle.
Perhaps the stat that surprised me the most was one that 20,000 players play across Europe. Does it make you, as a football fan, make you wonder about the merits of all the money that's going into GWS?
Look, I think the AFL. I think the AFL needs to really have a good think about how they invest in this game internationally. I mean, they're clearly making a big investment in Western Sydney and in Queensland, but I think I think keepers of the code, they have an obligation to look outside Australia, and I think, you know, part of the reason for making this film was to create that discussion about what that investment might be overseas.
We'll get into some allusions as to what might be. I think it might be Kevin Sheedy talks about a South African team playing a VFL rep team or something similar along those lines. What is your sense of where things will be for Australian football internationally in, say, 5 or 10 years?
Well, I loved interviewing Kevin Sheedy. He really does think outside the box, and his ideas about having a world team come and play against a rep team, perhaps a VFL rep team, I would love to see that. And I remember interviewing him going, yes, thank you for saying that, because it really did sort of summarise some of my feelings over the journey. That I think that's where we could head. We could have a world team come and represent the rest of the world. The great thing is that life has been imitating art for us, because when we started production of this film, there was no game being played in Wellington. There was no AFL drafts happening in LA. All this happened after we started production of the film. So to me, there's an inevitability about this expansion. We now have a regular game played offshore. We have regular draft camps in Los Angeles. Collingwood have just signed this 7-foot NBA reject who can run 20 metres in 3 seconds flat. He's as big as Aaron Sandilands, but twice as fast. I think there's an inevitability about this expansion. So to answer your question about where in 5 years' time, I think it's going to have a regular game offshore. I think we're going to see Americans running around. We're going to perhaps see South Africans running around. And look, I think we also are going to have a serious discussion about a team being based offshore.
So early on, Peter Fitzsimons makes a comment to the effect that the AFL has let the horse bolt as to overseas take up of the game. Was there a temptation to kind of follow that rabbit down its burrow in terms of critiquing where efforts have been put in regards to this over the years?
Look, it was more. I mean, it's, as you can imagine, fitting 100 hours of footage into 90-minute film is excruciatingly painful. And I think, look, it's a journey that, I mean, I think we did at one stage. I think we did explore it in more detail. But I think the organic nature of making a film like this is that things just end up not working in the process. I'm not meaning to not answer your question, but I think we did go into much more detail, but it just stopped the flow of the story, if you like. And to me, this is a story about a journey and a human story of being out on the road.
All the best for the film and for its preview screens tonight here in Adelaide.
Thanks for having me.